Hey everybody, I've been asked to cover the subject of how to deal with a narcissist. Um, the first thing I want to define is that we're going to talk about this from the perspective I'm talking to the victim. So if you're a victim of a narcissistic person, I'm going to be addressing it to you as opposed to from the narcissistic perspective. So first, we want to define narcissism. It's basically being self-centered or concerned with self, or an unusual amount of self-concern or preoccupation with self and whatnot. Really like a glorified version of being interested in yourself. Gosh, I don't see what's wrong with that. It's like, okay, so one of the things that by the way, I am on Bluetooth with Sally, who is bringing me some of these quotes and some things that were posted, and some things came to me from viewers about how to deal with a narcissistic person in some of their scenarios. And how you doing, Sally? She's good. She's good. Okay. All right. So one of the things that you were mentioning was when you were reading about narcissism and that in the beginning of a relationship with a narcissist, they give you a love bath, right? Wasn't that like the first case scenario of what? A love bombing. Okay, fine. And then it stops, and then they start treating you differently, as if love bombing was the luring you in part. And then things start to change. When everything okay, everything fundamentally is the same in terms of, we want to use the word narcissistic, as if it's like psychotic, as if it's like this big void up version of something darker or more sinister or more clinical, and it's really not. It's really not. Basically, of there's levels of self-interest, and there's levels of lack of concern. And if you want to give it a great big label as a victim of it, to make it seem like woe is me, and I'm going to beat up on you a little bit. I'm going to try to be tender with you about the victimhood going on here. But it really all comes down with anything that messes with you or makes you feel like a victim, or it makes you feel, how dare you love me so much and love bomb me and then take it all away. How dare you? That's not right. I'm a victim here because you stopped loving me. What? First of all, if anything stops being nice to you or it stops feeling good, then get out. Then get out. Nobody owes you continual love for a long period of time. However long somebody doused you with love, they got a right to. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's mutually pleasurable and someone's treating you right, I don't care if you want to call them a narcissist or not. If it stops and it starts to feel uncomfortable, you get out. And you don't hold someone else responsible when you don't. So because you want to give somebody a label of being a narcissist, it makes you seem less able to protect yourself, more of a victim, you see. And the fact is, no matter how much of big of a label you want to give something, how wrong you want to claim somebody is for loving you and then stopping and changing it and making it confusing for you, doesn't take off the responsibility of you being responsible for what you involve yourself with or not. At any point, you can get out of something. And if you don't feel like you're strong enough to get out of it, you got to go inside. You got to go inside. And it's nobody's responsibility to do that but you. And the larger the labels we want to give the narcissist just means it's the more we want to not take responsibility for, or we're basically not wanting to accept how weak we are. And I'm not saying that to beat up on you. I am telling you from experience. I am telling you from being a victim, or being disrespected, or not being treated properly or validated the way that I should be from someone. And I'm telling you because I've climbed myself out of that. I've climbed myself out of that. I earned that. I earned my roots. I earned my foundation. Nobody owes that to you, even if you want to give them the label of being a narcissist, meaning they were better at it. than somebody else, meaning that it was a more severe job or they were more clever about it. It doesn't matter, baby. It doesn't matter. It all comes down to somebody showing you where you're not so strong in yourself and where you need to get more stable with yourself, stable in your ability to leave something that doesn't feel comfortable for you, stable in knowing that what somebody does or doesn't do is about them. It's not about you. If you don't like something that's going on in your life with whatever you're doing or involve yourself with, then it's only your responsibility to take yourself out of it. And if you feel like that's hard to do, don't blame other people for that. And don't give them big bad labels, because you do yourself a disservice by taking your hands off the wheel. That's not right. I'm going to stay here they until they act right. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Or you can take your eyes off of them and say, what is it about me that's making me continue to deal with this? And I don't mean by beating yourself up. That's a very, very big distinguishing factor. It's not about beating yourself up more. Why can't I be stronger? And it's my fault that I'm dealing with this. No, no, no. It's about saying, why aren't I leaving? What is it about me I don't believe in about myself that keeps me here? Why am I paralyzed by my fear? Do I fear like I'm not going to be good enough for somebody else? Do I fear that I'm not going to love again? Do I feel, what am I so parasitical about this person? Me, self-analyzing, introspective me. You see, your mess with ability or F with ability is always going to be your responsibility. Because if something is pushing against you, it's because you're push against a bull. You see, so the longer you want to sit there and blame anyone or anything about feeling like it's pushing you and you don't like that, then stop being push againstable. You either take yourself out of it because you know that you're worth more than that. You don't thank you for loving me with the love bomb while you did. And when you change your mind with that for whatever reason, that's up to you, but I'm out. And if you can't get out of that, you got to go inside yourself, because you either do it now or you do it later, but you're going to have to face it eventually. Stop using other people as an excuse to not do your own work on you, baby. And I'm saying this lovingly because I know I've been there for years. I've been there. You see, I'm talking to you. You're listening to someone that climbed themselves out of that. You see. And it's your work. It's your work, no matter how big of a label you want to give them. Let's put a pin in that. I've kind of said what I have to say about that segment. And Sally, did I mention Sally's on the phone with me? Did I say that, Sally? Yeah? Okay, good. All right, so let's move on to some other stimulating factors. Like a viewer wrote to me. Give me that statement again. Okay, all right, all right. I wish I had seen the red flags before I got involved with a narcissist. You could soften that by taking the narcissist, the psychotic behavior, and say, I got involved with someone that was extremely self-centered, and I wish I would have seen the red flags sooner. You can walk around paranoid or really overly concerned about looking for someone that's too self-centered, and be guarded about someone as being really nice, and last time someone was really nice, they ended up changing their mind at some point and becoming very selfish. But by then it was too late. I loved them already. Okay, I would highly recommend not guarding yourself against concerning yourself against anybody being, ooh, too good to be true again, or I wish I would have saw the red flags. I don't know what those red flags were in particular in the beginning in this individual situation, but the answer to this is not to go around in life being overly concerned about whether or not someone is genuine or not. Okay? You can always develop, and you're always developing more of your intuition. That's true. But you can't always go around guarding in a guarded perspective, because you're going to attract the things you're guarding yourself against. You're gonna attract guarding yourself against things. You don't want to live that way. It's no way to live. You so if you love somebody and they're loving you and you're not concerned about red flags. And I'm not saying you avoid the ones you see that don't feel comfortable to you. I'm saying if it all feels good, then go with it while it feels good. And don't worry about when it goes bad, because everything's got an expiration date for one reason or another, and that's okay. So you keep yourself open to being loved and to flowing the love that you are. Don't be guarded. And don't be overly concerned about red flags because you're going to attract the things that you're concerned with. It's just not a way to live. And you'll drive yourself crazy with that. Sally, do you have something to say about that? You're being way. You got to be really quick because they can't hear you. You got to give me another quote. Okay, so here's a quote from the victim's perspective. There's a certain amount of quotes that we kind of came across that were from the victim's perspective dealing with a narcissist, and one of them that we'll address is, "I wish you were the person that you said you were too." Is that right, Sally? Okay. "I wish you were the person that you said you were too." Okay. So you see how this is like attacking? It's basically saying, "You piece of shit." All right. So what exactly is the victim upset about the narcissist? Because the narcissist once showed them love and now they're not anymore. And they're only self-centered. People have a right to be self-centered. And if they're self-centered and about themselves, let them do that. People do and don't do things based upon they want to feel good. And if what they decide to do for a temporary period of time is to love you and then change their mind and only think about themselves, so what? So let them go on and love themselves and thank them for the time where they loved you for a while. So nobody owes you that. And if they change their mind, they have a right to change their mind. Who's being the messed up one here? If somebody changes their mind and decides that they don't want to douse you with love anymore and they want to be more self-oriented, then what right do you have to sit there and to dog them out for not loving you anymore or for changing their mind or being completely into their self and the self-interest? How do they owe you a continual dousing of love and adoration? Oh, okay. So they should have lovingly said goodbye to you. They should have lovingly not taken advantage. If somebody starts taking advantage, if somebody starts taking advantage of the fact that they know that you love them too now, and they lured you in with loving you, you can stop that at any point. And if you get tangled up in it, that's still your choice. Nothing is ever going to do anything except for make you stronger about what's right for you and when it's sooner to get out of something when it doesn't feel good. So what's the problem with that, Sally? Okay, so the narcissist doesn't just want to break up with you, he wants to destroy you. That's another quote. "No one can drive you crazy unless you give them the keys. No one can destroy you if you're indestructible." The question isn't blaming them for trying to destroy you. The question is, why are you destroyable? Why are you destroyable? And I guess, it's hard to address this without getting into some specifics about how someone is attempting to destroy you. Are they keying your car? Are they trying to get you fired? Are they like a full-on destruction here? From my understanding, a narcissist tends to be a little more clever with their methodology. Like they're more plotted and emotionally clever. Would you say that's true, Sally? Exactly, and that's kind of the resentment that the victim has, is like, how dare you cleverly manipulate me because I'm not smart enough to pay attention. And it's like, well then get smarter or get out or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you can't keep it's like playing a game with somebody and getting mad at them because they're beating you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, get out of the game then. Um And if you're not strong enough to get out of the game, then this is going to make you stronger next time. You know? And it's not about I'm never going to love again or getting defensive about getting involved with someone that could be end up a narcissist too. I highly recommend drop the label of narcissistic. That I mean, I just labels are such an extreme way of blowing out of proportion, as if you are it magnifies your victimhood, and it magnifies the extravagance of someone that is interested in themselves too dominantly. Who are you, and who is anyone to come along and say, you care too much about yourself. You think too much about yourself. You're too selfish. You only care about yourself. You need to care more about other people. How do you know what's the right amount for somebody to care about themselves? How do you know? Usually people say you're caring too much about yourself when they need you to feed them. Victim. If you're full and you got enough food because you're feeding yourself, you don't care how much somebody else got on their plate. You know what I mean? Sally, are you with me? Okay, you can. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, all right. What if they know what they're doing and they're doing it on purpose and they know they're hurting you? It's not, you can't demand or ever be successful with the chasing down of somebody to insist that they treat you the way that you want to be treated. If they know they're hurting you and they're doing it on purpose, where's your responsibility to get out of that yourself? Are you going to sit there and blame them because they don't care as much about you as you should about you? Basically, essentially what that's saying is, I'm too weak to get out, so I want to stay in here and insist that you treat me the way that I want to be treated. And you say that you love me, you say you're going to treat me nice, and then you turn around and you do something mean to me. And I don't want to leave you because of that. I want to stay here until you never do that again, ever. Okay, great. You're never going to do that. Great. I'll believe you again. Okay. Then you do it again. And then I keep staying because I insist that you treat me the way I want you. What are you doing? At what point do you take responsibility? I don't care how gamey somebody is. Does that make sense, Sally? Okay, any other points about that? No contact. No contact. What do you mean by no contact? Not dealing with them at all? Well, of course, babes. Of course. Well, but see, that's the cutoff point. It's like, at any point, that's what I've been saying the whole time. At any point, you can stop and say that's enough. And if that means completely cutting yourself off, then yeah. If you're not strong enough to do that, then take responsibility for not being strong enough to do that. I personally, in my situations where I felt like I was being disrespected or somebody wasn't thinking enough of me when they did things, or they'd say one thing and do another, there was a long period of time where I felt like it was a matter of me expressing my case better and how wrong I was being treated or what I deserved, and my knowingness, and maybe I just need to say this more effectively, or there's no way that they could deny that I should be respected if I get better at communicating this. And then I said to myself, I'm expecting them to respect me more than I'm willing to respect myself, because respecting myself doesn't mean just speaking up for myself. Respecting myself means when I've had enough that I take responsibility of taking myself out of that. That means, but if I'm not willing to do that, but I'm willing to sit here and complain and beat you up for not considering me enough or valid enough or respecting me enough, I want you to take more responsibility than I'm willing to take for myself. Because if I was willing to take enough of it for myself, I'd leave. But I'm not strong enough yet. So I'd rather stay here and make you change. I'd rather make you love yourself. We don't see narcissism as love, people loving themselves, but it oftentimes is. It's about I'm selfish, I'm self-centered as a narcissist. Selfish, self-centered, self-serving, self-considerate, no consideration for other people. That's a form. These are forms of love that, quite frankly, people don't do enough for themselves, because it goes back again to the point I was making about a buffet. If you feed yourself enough from your own buffet and you're full, you don't care how much somebody wants to love themselves and think of themselves, because you're not relying on them for your own sustenance. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Is there anything else I'm not covering or missing about this that we covered before? Well, the other tools that a victim can use to stay away from the narcissist, again, it depends on what types of methodologies a narcissist is using. You know, like if they're attacking your job and really trying to ruin your life. But like again, we're clarifying that this is more of a psychological game that we're talking about here. So let's set aside something more physical and just deal with the aspects of somebody psychological warfare. So the best tool to take yourself out of it is to continually, because it's like, trees that grow, these bushes that grow in these little wonderful twisted fashions. They start by, they wrap them around, and as they grow, they keep wrapping it. Well, that's what has to happen with the victim psychologically. You're building a stronger foundation. So if you're not strong enough to just cut it off just like that, because if you were, we wouldn't be talking about this. You know what I mean? So, so you have to begin to, every time you find yourself feeling vulnerable, feeling weak, feeling like you're staying, but you really want to, this isn't good for you, you have to remind yourself that if you stay, this is your choice. And why are you making these choices? What are you believing about yourself that isn't strong enough to leave? You got to go inside. Go inside as often as you can. Because if you're not strong enough to leave yet, the more you go inside, every time you're face to face with that dilemma, the stronger you're going to build your own rooting system and your own meanings that you're giving things, your self-esteem. Actually, if you got two narcissists together, then wouldn't last very long, because you can't deal with that degree of selfishness if both people are trying to sabotage each other with it, because it's like it doesn't work. If I was self-centered and you're self-centered, we're either going to like be good and be loving, or if you're going to be cruel, I'm out, because I love myself enough too. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Maybe you as a victim should become a little more narcissist. Maybe the victim needs to learn a little bit about the narcissist, about being self-centered. So the victim is basically saying, I'm not self-centered enough. I'm not self-concerned enough. And I resent the fact that you are. Is that funny? Interesting. Anything else? Because personally for me, it was more about going inside myself enough. I'm extremely introspective, as you may gather, and going inside myself frequently enough, every time I was miserable or every time I felt bad, I would go inside myself. I stopped looking at the other person for woe is me. You know what I'm saying? Gosh, I really hate that I feel stuck. Why do I feel stuck? You know, what is it about this that I feel like I'm too afraid? Why am I so paralyzed? You know, it's about being introspective. You don't do yourself, you never ever, I hope you hear this part, you never do yourself a service, no matter what the subject is, by continuing to expect people to change for you and give you what you need in order to be happy. The idea is to be, you know, you've heard the quote, to find your soulmate, you have to mate with your own soul. Mating with your own soul essentially means being strong enough and whole enough, healthy enough about your loving yourself enough to not subject yourself to miserable circumstances. And if you were whole enough, you wouldn't put yourself in positions that make you feel like a victim, because you really don't feel like a victim anymore when you're whole enough. There's really barely anything at this point in my life that I ever feel like a victim about, because I know too much about how I'm creating my reality, and it's an opportunity in any circumstance for me to be stronger within myself and to let people have a right to be, guess what? A narcissist has a right to be a narcissist. Someone self-centered has a right to be self-centered. They have a right to love themselves and to be as concerned with themselves as much as they want to be. And if you want to sit there and claim victim because once upon a time they loved you so wonderfully and then they stopped, that's up to you. But you might want to take some notes from somebody that's narcissistic about how to be more self-centered, because then you won't really care. You just can't be a victim. You know, it's like I said, you can't, you know, you what's that, driving somebody crazy unless you give them the keys. It's basically the same thing. No one can make you a victim. You make you a victim. It's about taking responsibility for feeling like a victim. You feel like a victim is because you're letting yourself be that under all circumstances. You're never a victim. Everything is happening through you. And if you want to give me some questions as to how you think that's not true, please do, because it's only going to give us greater clarification. So, do you have any more questions, Sally? Okay. I hope this helps, and I hope it also helps to know that I'm saying this from a former victim's perspective and taking the journey myself, a very long journey through victimhood, if you will, into being born into taking responsibility for myself, my state of being, and the things that I involve myself with, and letting other people be themselves. And if that doesn't fit me, then I remove myself. I remove myself lovingly, no animosity. Everybody just wants to be happy, and they're doing and not doing things to do that. And if that means using you for some reason or another, then you're out. You know? And if you don't have the strength to be out, you got to accept responsibility for that, because you're not a victim. Don't give away your power by telling yourself that you're a victim of anything, because you never are. And you start to accept responsibility for that, you can start building those blocks that root you into yourself, that make you feel at peace, and that doesn't make you feel guarded to love other people no matter what. You see? So I hope that helps. You can also follow Dal Boyer Life Coach page on YouTube, as well as Facebook group page, and share some of your ideas and some of your questions there. Thank you. Thanks, Sally.